when I get back underneath there so I can catch it.
There we go. Oh yeah, this one's real bad too.
You got it?
Yep.
Cool. Roll through.
Yeah. Alrighty, welcome back everybody. Today's video, we're digging deeper into Andrew's Land Cruiser. After seeing how bad it was on the top end of the engine with all the carbon buildup on the valves, we decided that we needed to drop the pistons, put in new piston rings, hone out the cylinder walls, just to clean everything up, get everything all nice and tight and tidy again. What you see in here is me and Andrew getting awfully lucky taking this oil pan off. Andrew was reading up on the forums, seeing that a lot of people struggle with this part just because of how strong that gasket is that Toyota uses. And if you're watching this and wondering what we did to get it off, was we took a 2x4 and a hammer, and on the top of the cast oil pan by the bell housing corner, we just took that 2x4 and a hammer, gave it a couple love taps, and luckily for us it just started budging off, and we were able to slowly wiggle it off and pry it off by hand just to get it to this point right here. So the next issue at hand was trying to get this oil pan out, but the track bar support beam was in the way, so we had to end up jacking up the engine.
Split again?
You can see it was a little bit of a close call there, but what happened was the jack is right at the edge of the garage floor, and while we were jacking it up, it was starting to push the jack out just a little bit, and I didn't notice, and it just slipped out onto the crack, and luckily nobody's fingers got hurt. And with that, I hope you guys enjoy this video. It's just covering up all that me and Andrew did, getting the pistons out, cleaning and prepping to put the new pistons in. Going to do a little bit of voiceovers here and there, and a little bit of time lapse here and there, so I hope you guys enjoy. sure a lot of y'all are scratching your head wondering what the heck we're using here, but when you're a mechanic and all your good tools are at the shop, you gotta learn to use what you got at home.
Alrighty, now let's go make room.
Okay.
Alright, on to the next big step. We finally got all the piston caps off, and now we're getting ready to push out all the pistons, and you'll see we run into a little more issues here soon. Luckily it wasn't too big of an issue, but it was just one extra part that we had to put on order and one part to hold us back even further. Right here is where we start to run into a little issue, nothing too big. Andrew's little wooden dowel that I was using to hammer the pistons up and out of the block broke off, so we had to send the piston back down to his end, and to do that ended up having to take the rings because the rings were all the rings were out, so I had to take each ring off and accidentally centered down a little too hard. You'll see here in a second, but luckily no damage to the crank.
Easy.
That slipped in a lot easier than it came out.
Yep. Oh, there's no resistance. Tree down, tree to go. Oh, no shit? Look at the ring on this one. Something about when you go by the truck and you pull the dude like get a road trip on the back of the boat. Some focus oil.
And this right here is what we ran into, the little issue. The bearings on the pistons looked really rough and not in good shape, so just had to throw them on order, wait for them to get in, and threw them in. So right here we're using a soft bristle brush. It's kind of like a plasticky looking sanding wheel. you don't want to use like an actual sanding wheel on the top deck of your motor. These have to be machined perfectly flat in order for the head gasket to seal properly. So this is why we're using this soft bristle brush. We did actually end up using a Scotch-Brite sanding disc for before we started using this plastic disc, just because the head gasket material that was left over was a little too much for even the lowest grit of this plastic sand disc. This was probably my favorite part, was honing out the cylinder walls. Keep in mind, the reason why we're not plunging completely all the way through is because we do still have the crankshaft in there, so we can only plunge down as far as the crankshaft would let us. Looks so good. It's crazy how well that works. Ooh, that one's good.
Got a little bit of score in that one?
Yeah. So does this one.
It's not enough that my finger catches it.
Okay. See a little bit of that one. Yeah, all of them got a little bit, but that number one looks the worst.
Fine. Nothing I'm worried about.
Yeah. Wow, I can't believe how good that looks. Oh, it's so smooth.
I might not have been plunging fast enough, but I think it'll ride.
Yeah.
I ain't no professional, but it'll be fine.
We're just a bunch of rookies. Kind of know what we're doing.
We're good at pretending.
Yeah. We know the gist.
Yeah.
Alright, right here we're measuring the gap for the piston rings. We're just using the caliper to set depth, make sure that the whole piston ring is evenly down, so that way we can get an accurate gap measurement with our feeler gauge. So right here is what the pistons looked like before we did any cleaning to them. So Andrew went out and got himself a new little toy. He got himself a Vivor sonic cleaner, and this thing is pretty freaking cool. And the amount of work it did in 30 minutes was it just blew us away. It was crazy. Now this thing is pretty cool because it heats up the solution and then basically vibrates supersonically and just loosens up all that grime and oil. You can see all the oil floating to the top of the tank right now, and just the way they came out is just, look at that. No brushing, just that's how they came out. So now with all the pistons all cleaned up and all the piston rings measured and checked for their gap and everything, now it's time to throw on all the piston rings. Fun little tedious task, but everything went on without a hiccup. That's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you guys enjoyed what you were watching, please leave us a like and subscribe, and comments if you guys have any. The next video of us putting everything back together should be coming out here soon, so keep an eye out for that. And once we get it all put back together and running again, hopefully we can get it out on the trails and get some trail footage for y'all. Thanks for watching.